But shout out to Phil Collins though, man, because like,
have you had a chance to meet him?
no, man, like, but if there's a dream collaboration, I'd probably overlook my Pharrells and Kanye's and go straight to Phil. Like, if I could, I know he's cracking on and probably isn't making music anymore, but bro, Phil, if you happen to watch this, get someone to hit me up, please. Let's make a nice sad song.
Dystopia Tonight. Dystopia Tonight.
Pleasure to be here.
I want to say congratulations, first of all, on the Grammy nomination, because that's got to be exciting as hell. How do you even get like notified by that? Is it text now, or is it old school style where like your agent still calls you and they're like, "Wake up"?
Nah, I actually found out super late. I didn't even know, and it was in 2014 that it was. I think it was a 2014 Grammys. And it was for Childish Gambino's album, Because the Internet. I did some drum work on one of the songs there with Chance the Rapper.
Right.
And yeah, man, like I never even knew that it was getting nominated for a Grammy, and then I just found out super late that it was. I saw it come up on the nominations. I was like, oh, are we allowed to swear on here?
Oh yeah, you can say whatever you want.
So I was like, oh shit, like what the fuck? I was like, I'm nominated for a Grammy. It didn't feel real, it didn't feel real because no one actually really told me. But then once I found out, obviously I was ecstatic, man, and added that to the list of many things that I've done in my career, man.
Yeah. Did you, when you got to go and stuff like that, like, are you easily starstruck? Like, how does it, like, or are you kind of like over it?
I think aside from when I was a kid, I'm from a small city called Wolverhampton where there's not celebrities, so I never really saw anyone famous until I kind of was in my teens when I was producing for people. But it just felt so normal because of how the whole like thing had happened. And I made this beat when I was 17, a grime instrumental called the Woo Rhythm, and like every single UK MC who was big literally did like a freestyle to this beat, and it became one of the biggest grime instrument. It kind of brought back grime music in the UK, and every MC who was big literally did a freestyle or a version to it, and that kind of put me out there. So I already had started working with all these big names before I'd even stepped out my house, type of thing. Like it was kind of crazy.
That's cool, man.
So I've never actually been starstruck as such, except for when I met Floyd Mayweather. I met him in LA. Through Slim from Cash Money. That he was kind of managing me at the time, and that was in like 2014 as well or something. But that was just mad. I was like, whoa, that's Floyd Mayweather, and he was like, what's up, SX, how you doing? So I was just like, yo, that's crazy. That's Floyd Mayweather, man.
Yeah, no, that would be that's a good one. If you're gonna be starstruck, I feel like that's the dude to get starstruck.
Yeah, I feel like in music, not really. When you see like actors or actresses and people who are not really in music, it's like, wow, there are actually people out there who are not just in music.
I know, it's crazy. I like that kind of cross. Like whenever we have guests on the show, because we have like comedians, musicians, actors, and stuff like that on, and like I kind of love their appreciation for somebody else's art. Like it's cool when like they all know each other and stuff like that. But when they're like, oh my god, I just saw like Gene Hackman the other day. You know what I mean? And you're just like, shit, like it's
for real, man. I remember one time I was in LA, and this was like the first time I ever went to LA, bro. And I saw Seth Rogen walking on his own. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, yo, coming from, Wolverhampton, a small city in the UK where, but yo, I just was like, why is he just on the street right now? Like just walking there on his own? No one's. It's because everybody lives in LA and it's just normal. So
I know it is really weird. I had a meeting. I went out to LA and I had a meeting at Jim Henson Studios. Because I'd done like a short film, and I'm like driving around and I'm trying to find like where the lot is to park, and I just see this car parked in an SUV type of thing, and there's like two dudes just talking and one's in the car. So I like pull up next to them and I just started asking him like, hey, do you know where the entrance to the studio is? And it was Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And I was and he was fucking chill. And he's like, "Oh, cool, man. You got a meeting?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he goes, "Well, good luck, buddy."
Yo,
You
that's
just go
mad.
around the
Yo,
yeah.
LA is weird, man.
Yeah, it was so bizarre. And I just drove away. Like, I didn't even say like, "Hey, I like your stuff." I was just like an idiot. Like, I was like, "You're great." And he was like, "So are you." And I'm like, "You don't know me."
Man.
Yeah, it is really weird when you run into people there. My friend ran into Eddie Murphy shopping once. And I was just like, "What do you mean shopping?" And she was like, "Just looking for a jacket."
That's it though, man. Like, everyone's just a normal person and they got to do their normal errands.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it feels like LA is where that stuff happens at, man. Like, people are, that's why the paparazzi game's so big out there, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's so big out there that it's almost like dangerous. Like, I've seen them kind of crowding on a street. Like I'm sure you've been like the ArcLight movie theater and shit like that. Like, if you ever wind up going, if you ever wind up going when there's like a movie premiering, I'm like, I don't know how I would handle it if it was just like overwhelming like that. I think it was like Rainn Wilson, somebody else is there. And it was just constant bam, bam, bam photography and flashing and photos and shit. And you're just like, how can you even enjoy anything? You're just going out for a minute.
They're probably used to it, man. It's just what comes with, like, I'm nowhere near on that kind of level, but just the little amount of, I don't want to call it fame, but noticeability, I'm going to call it, that I have, like, that sometimes gets stressful, man, especially if I'm feeling a certain way or I'm not in the mood that day. But like, to have it non-stop, guaranteed, constantly at a mad level, like from the second you walk out the door, that must be. Right. You must get used to it, but it must be stressful, like, because you can't do certain things, man.
Yeah, if you're in like a bad, like, it's got to suck when you're not feeling it at all. Like, I feel like there's certain, I've seen certain people handle it like really well, where I'm just like, oh, cool. That's just a mentality that they have about it. They're chill. And then like, but it's got to suck if you're just like having a fucking day and you're just like, I don't want to deal with it.
But I guess that's just like what you've got to.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Just, man, it's what comes with it.
Yeah.
It's only like having a bad day at work or something, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because you're always at work. You're always, as soon as you step out of your house, you're like in the office.
Yeah, man, literally.
Yeah.
You are the office.
Were you always interested in music when you were younger, or how did that kind of come about?
Yeah, I think so. I think my mom was always playing like house music and like ABBA and Fleetwood Mac and stuff like that. So I was always around music, listening to that kind of stuff. And then my older brother, Adam, he was a DJ. He was playing me like Wu-Tang and all old school like Southern hip hop and stuff. This was when I was like, I don't even know, like 9, 10, 11 maybe. So I kind of just got into that kind of hip hop scene subconsciously from so young. And I'd always been heavily driven into like Southern hip hop, at the time, like it was called the Dirty South. And then I started playing the drums, man, when I was like 12, 13, and I got into rock music all of a sudden. So I had this like fuse of like rock and hip hop, but like country hip hop. So it was like a mad, weird influence for like a 12-year-old kid.
That's great
to know these things. But then literally by the time I was like 14, 15, I was making beats rather than, like playing drums. I started DJing as well, but I got bored of DJing other people's songs. So I stepped into production. Nice. And that was when I just knew, like, from the second I knew you could make beats from a computer, bro, I didn't even know what you needed to make beats, but like when I knew you just needed a computer, I was like, yo, life changed. Right. So I just sat there and cracked the software, like,
how old were you then?
Like 11 or 12.
Oh, wow. You were still 11 or 12 when you started to go into production.
Literally.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Just trying out. Like, I wasn't good at all until I was like probably about 15. That's when I realized I can actually make beats. And I knew that because I was working with, local people from the area that were already pretty well established, man, in the city. So
nice.
That made me knew, like, yo, from then on, music was just in my blood or in my destiny. I've never had to, not to say I haven't had to, like, not work for anything, because obviously I've had to work for it, but it just always felt so organic and normal and like it's meant to be happening. So I've never felt like I've gone out of my way to force anything, it's just always been organic. Even with like the artistry, me singing, I started doing that in March 2017. after all those accolades as a producer, I just got bored, man. I had enough. I always knew I could sing and write, so
nice.
Why not, man? Let's try it out. Let's try
Absolutely.
it out.
Yeah. So you never had like a normal job?
I did actually, but not at the beginning. So like after all that success, I had a Grammy nomination. I had a gold record with Jeezy, a #1 album and shit, like hanging on my wall. But I had no money in the bank, man. Because as a producer, if you don't have constant hits going, you don't earn money, you know. So I had a daughter. I still have her, but I had just the one at the time. I got 2 daughters, so at the time though, I just had the one, and we just wasn't making enough money to literally live. So I had to get a job. I feel no way or pride about that. Like even now, you know, like if things, God forbid, went downhill, like it's nothing to get a job, man. You've got to do what you got to do for your family, for the people around you, and for yourself. You know, you got.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at that time it was just mad because I felt like I was failing in life for real. Even though I knew I was like destined to do something with music, I just it wasn't it at that time. I was pretty depressed, man.
I hear you, man. It's a hard thing to get around when you're as creative as you are, and you feel like you've done enough to warrant not having to do, like you said, not like there's anything even wrong with having like a regular job, but like when you feel like you've built yourself a decent career and then for some reason it's still not hitting, and then you got to go back. You're like, oh,
some days, like I still feel like that today though. Sometimes like it's not. I know where I have like aspirations to be in my dreams, but I might never make it to that point. You never know. Like it's just a reality. But just to think of where I've came from what I have done is absolutely crazy. And I never started doing this with the intention to get anywhere. I just did it because I wanted to do it. I was having fun.
Yeah.
But I think when it does start happening though, your goals change, you know, along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you feel like, because I feel the same way, man, and I've had like I've been doing stand-up for 16 years and, you know, gone through the same thing, like different peaks, different highs and different lows or whatever. But it is kind of funny when you look back at what you've done. Do you feel content? Because I kind of do in a way where I'm like, look, if at this point, if I get to a point where I'm just not, you know, where I've got to kind of bow out, like I had a good run, you know what I mean? Like not that you're going to stop being creative, but you're like, I did do a lot and I did, you know, have these peaks and valleys and did some interesting shit and met some interesting people. Do you feel content?
Nah, not at all.
Okay.
No, I know what I've got coming, man, and I know I have a lot of self-built-in frustration, especially right now because I mentioned it on my Instagram the other day, but over the last kind of year or 2 years, as many of us with the whole pandemic and COVID situation, but just speaking for me personally, how it's affected me, like especially over the last year, I've had some personal issues happen. I've had some things behind the scenes, like with the labels changing and you know, just a bunch of things that happen in life that you don't really get to speak about. But that's made me kind of like withdraw a little bit from posting on Instagram, just being the artist or the person that I was before the pandemic. You know, I feel like a different person. Plus, not being able to really go outside as much at the beginning. It affects us all, man, in many different ways. But I feel like now with the...
I was going to say, I just think it changed the way a lot of people, especially in the art, think about how much they value their time more, their creativity more, you know, how they're producing stuff and what they're willing, the lengths they're willing to go to. Like there's just at times now where I just don't take certain gigs that I probably used to take because I would feel like, you know, I had to, or that I wasn't doing a thing. Yeah, I wasn't doing the job I had to do, but now I'm just like, it's not worth it anymore. And I can be creative in other ways. And I've been to a certain point where you're like, I don't need that stuff. And it's okay to say you don't need it. You don't have to say yes to everything.
Nah, man. And I think like at the time that we're in today, especially like this year, it's quite like a thing online that's going around. I know a lot of people are inspired by Instagram quotes with backgrounds and cute things. So, but now like one of those things that I see regularly on Instagram, even though I've always known this, is like it's okay to be selfish or say no or you know, because it's protecting you and you always should come first, man. But a lot of us don't know that and we learn the hard way, or we might want to put ourselves out for others because maybe we don't receive that from others. There's many different factors, man. But as long as you put yourself first, then you know it's actually excellent to say no because you'll feel a lot better, man.
Yeah, absolutely. How did your family feel when you started going into music and stuff like that? Were they worried about you, or did they feel like you had it and they were just letting you run with it?
it's kind of funny because I always used to talk to my mom and grandparents. It was just me and my mom growing up. So I just used to talk to her about how I'm gonna blow up when I'm older, and I'm gonna be famous and be rich and all these things. And I remember like my granddad, who passed away when I was, I think, 17, like just months before that song Woo Rid and blew up. He passed away, man. Wow. But I remember him saying to my mom, well, my mom recalled to me that he said, like, is he actually gonna do this stuff, or is he just like, is it make believe in his head? Mm-hmm. But it's so crazy because I always use that as motivation, because when I was a kid, he'd sit me down and be like, you know, you need to go get education, start your own business, don't mess around. And then like when I'm here genuinely like focused as a 17, 16-year-old kid, and he's saying like, is this really gonna happen? Or, you know, just even at that age. But then when he passed, like, or it just started happening. And then even, you know how I was saying earlier about it just being organic. It just started happening, man. So
that's
my
awesome.
family have kind of embraced it because it was happening so young, you know.
Did they think it was weird, something, man, that you were going to grow out of? Were they like, he's 13, it'll pass?
Nah, I think my mom knew it was for me, man, because I took it serious, especially with like my drums. I had drum lessons and I really wanted to excel in that. And then I've always been like, from a kid, like if I'm into something and I want to do it, I'm going to go so hard until, you know, it does something. So that's just always been me. And even now, so yeah, man, I think my mom knew low key, like I was serious about it, because I probably didn't shut up about it, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, see, here's the thing. Like the craziest thing is we don't know each other. I've never met you before, but I can tell you're passionate about it even now, but I can tell how passionate were you about it then. So I can't imagine your parents didn't think like, he doesn't have the drive.
No, like now my passion is still there, but because of the over a decade of experience in the industry at a level, like, you know, working professionally, I'm just so used to it that it's not that the passion has left me, or it's just that it's normal. It's just like another day. Like it becomes a job rather than a passion.
Yeah.
You know,
dude, some days it is. That's the thing. I think people who don't actually like get into the fields that we're in, like, or get into show business or any kind of art, is they don't realize that some days it is a fucking job, and it's not the most. But like, anytime there's a business side to this, I'm not a business person. I like the creative stuff. I love graphic design kind of things. I like video editing. I like performing. I like doing that kind of shit. Whenever I have to be in a meeting, I'm like, fuck. And it's not often, but I am just kind of like, fuck.
I hate you, man.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, especially with music, there's so many different sections to it. Like music, the actual music itself is like 10% of the whole spectrum of what surrounds it. Like, and I never realized that until 2020, when I had my like break in music as an artist, like and I signed a record deal, and I realized that there is all these things like marketing strategies and budgeting and all that stuff. Like I just wanted to make music whenever I made it and drop it whenever I want, and just film a video in wherever with my friends and just have a good vibe, and that is SX, like, just like organic good vibes, man.
Absolutely.
But then obviously it does excel into a different level, and you kind of got to move with that, man. So
that is the impression, by the way, that you get from listening to your music. So that's the one thing that I got too, is like, I do feel like you're having a blast, and it makes you, the listener, feel good too.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of my music, and thank you, man, by the way. But a lot of my music, I feel like is, I wouldn't say it's negative, because it comes from a honest place, like experiences in life, but they predominantly, I do think, come from a sort of like heartbreak kind of place. But I feel like, not to speak too early on the album and things, but with the album, and especially songs like All Night, you can instantly hear already how the adjustment, not adjustment, but I call it a graduation. I feel like I've like graduated out of being this like sad kid that's got all these emotions held in from being a kid until I was, how old was I in 2017 when I started singing? I don't know, maybe like 26, 25, but just like letting out all those emotions from then in vocal form rather than in instrumental form, that was just mad.
Do you find that, I find it interesting that you called it negative, though, like you in that kind of sense, because even when music is about breakups or being sad, I find comfort in those kind of songs. Like you were talking about Fleetwood Mac before too. Like some of those songs are crazy, Dreams especially. But when I hear it makes me happy.
True, but I think that's because of what we relate to it, what we take from it. But I feel like a lot of my songs are quite sad. Not sad, but just like a lot of the songs on the radio are not sad songs. They're pretty much like just to make you feel good. So I think what I'm trying to say is, let me delete that what I said. Like I don't mean to say my music's negative. I mean it to say like it's from an honest place, like it's for relatable purposes. But I feel like with the album now where I'm heading, it's gonna have sections of that stuff, but also where I love to have fun and make pop music and like experiment with sounds. And I haven't done that before. Like, I've always kind of just followed the normal SX protocol. But now as I'm like expanding as an artist, I'm working with different producers or writers and collaborating. My brain and my sound has expanded, man. So
that's awesome.
The album is gonna be mad.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. That's such a good feeling to have too, when you know yourself that you've grown into something completely different.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's a great feeling.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite thing is when you hear a song on the radio that sounds happy, but you can tell that no one's listening to the lyrics, and you're like, guys, this is fucked up.
That's literally 90% of my songs.
Yeah, that's what I was. It really makes me super happy because I feel like I love listening to the lyrics and then analyzing stuff. Like for mostly, it is that kind of thing. But I just love when like a friend of mine is like, "This song is a great beat," and I'm like, "It's really dark."
Yeah, I hear it, man.
Yeah, it's so good though.
Man. I think 90% of the songs that are out on the radio are kind of trash, like because it is just made for. I don't know, like
it kind of bums me out when I see that, like, because there's so many, I hear a lot of people who are like older than me constantly talk about like, the music today and it can never survive, never last. And I'm like, it's because 90% of what you're being fed is garbage. You're absolutely right. Like you're not hearing, because the radio won't play anything, with any kind of meaning or anything like that. They just want to keep people listening for a minute and a half. Yeah. And then they tell them to fuck off. And the same thing with like award shows. You know what I mean? Like I get there's a place for that in the same way that, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but in the same way that there's a place for McDonald's when you want junk.
Yeah,
man. I mean? It's great to have it sometimes.
Yeah. Everything in moderation. Like, you know, and that's why Spotify and streaming platforms are a blessing, because it allows you to play what you want when you want, and it's right there, man.
You know what? Oddly enough, I find that they're. I didn't even know this was a thing on Spotify, but I was making a playlist, and then the other day, Spotify was like, "Hey, do you want us to randomly add things we think you'd like into the playlist?" And I was like, "I guess."
The algorithms, man.
And and they did, and like some of them were like, "I don't want to listen to this shit," but there was a couple I had never heard from before. And like from bands I love. And I was like, how did I miss this? And it was on some obscure album that they found. And I'm like,
that's really interesting though. I never knew that they did that.
Me neither. And it just came up out of the blue and they were like, hey, we got something for you. And I was
that's good though for artists, because they're getting put onto new listeners, And,
absolutely.
Yeah, man. That makes a lot of sense.
Was there, did you have like a hero of yours when you were growing up? Because you mentioned your parents let you listen to like ABBA and Fleetwood Mac and stuff like that. You were coming up, but who was your like big musical influence?
I just love Phil Collins, man. Like, he's a drummer as well.
Absolutely.
And just like, I don't know, the way that he can just manipulate his voice as well in his songs. Like, he's just a genius, man. It's a shame that he's getting old. I saw a picture of him the other day.
I know.
Damn.
I know, man. It is heartbreaking because I don't picture him that way at all. But when they wheeled him out into a wheelchair on stage, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, man. Like, I hope he's doing okay, man, for real. Like, I think he went through another divorce as well recently. Yeah. So
that is always kind of heartbreaking when they're at that point and you're like, oh my God, like, how is this happening to this guy?
Yeah, man. But shout out to Phil Collins though, man, because like,
have you had a chance to meet him?
No, man. Like, but if there's a dream collaboration, I'd probably overlook my Pharrells and Kanye's and go straight to Phil. Like, if I could, I know he's cracking on and probably isn't making music anymore. But, bro, Phil, if you happen to watch this, get someone to hit me up, please. Let's make a nice sad song.
Oh, beautiful. Dude, I'll clip this completely. I'll clip out me saying I'm going to clip it, but I'll fucking tag him on everything. I bet you any amount of money, if somebody could reach out to him, he'd be more than happy to collaborate.
The thing I like about Phil Collins is like, he reminds me of like that miserable dad or that miserable uncle that's actually low-key happy and cool, but like he's got to make you know that he didn't have it easy growing up, or it's always been hard, even though he's fucking balling out of control. But, man, he just reminds. He's like a man, you know, like a man type of thing. Like
Genesis is a great band too.
Yeah,
like people don't. I feel like they don't get enough credit, but they were a great fucking band.
I was about to go see them, man. They just toured the UK. I didn't get to go.
Was it because of COVID?
No, I was just busy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, man.
I feel like
it's
that's
always something's booked in, and then something comes up, and it's just like, I don't get to go.
It sucks, dude. We had Everclear on. We had Art Alexicus from Everclear on, or whatever, and we had a couple other people on. And like, just as things were opening back up, they were going back on tour, and then I started to get booked, and I couldn't go see it because we were like, "We'll definitely come see you." Because in my head, I was like, "That'd be great," not realizing they play weekends and I play weekends.
Literally, man. Like after the lockdown, like we've all been saying, "Yeah, we'll meet," but like now everything's kind of going back to normal. Like we are too. I don't even feel like my mind has adjusted back to normality. Like I don't really want to go outside as much, whereas I used to always want to be outside and just be in public. Like, you know, like just I don't want to be indoors, but now, it's so rare that I'm outside. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And like, even when I do go out, it's very like specifically oriented now, and it's not just like frivolous. And I think everybody's having like major trust issues just with people in general, because you're like, I can't forget, and I don't know how long it's going to take me to, that there was just a sizable amount of the population that did not care whether other people lived or died. So like
it makes sense that that's how the world thinks, man, because like and I hate to, I'm not saying I agree, but like with the things that have been going on over the year, like everyone's became not selfish, but it's like, yo, we got to protect our family and our household first before we even you know. At the beginning of the pandemic, people was looking at people crazy if they even coughed near you, like you know, like just a cough, bro. Like I remember being in the barbershop the first week of the it starting, you know, like March 2020. And I coughed, bro. Like I had like a little coughing thing. I didn't have COVID, but everyone was like, "Yo, chill," making me feel alienated, man. Like,
I know.
I'm
I
just
hate
trying to, you know.
I remember being in a store and having to cough, and I was like, "Do I sprint the fuck out of here real quick, or do I like?" And then you're like trying to conceal it, and you just.
I don't even want no smoke with no Karens that are trying to tell me about all of that. Like, I'm good,
right?
Man.
Yeah, no, I know, it's crazy, dude. What was the basically like? Do you remember a point where you were like, "I'm feeling good about myself and confident enough to trust my own instincts," like as far as music goes? Like, you know what I mean? Like, were you always like that at like 12 and 13, or did you get to a point in your career where you were like, "I'm solid now. I know exactly what I need"? I
feel like I've always had like a vulnerability about that, or not being 100% with myself, but I've always gone with what I've wanted to do.
Nice. You had a gut instinct.
Yeah, I'd say so, definitely. And anytime I end up not trusting my gut, I oftentimes wish that I did. So
yeah,
like most of us, man, just trust in the gut, because you don't lie to yourself. Like, you know,
right? Yeah,
it's very real, man.
What's your writing process like?
It depends. It changes. It varies. Sometimes I just put a beat on, or I'll be making a beat and I can't even finish it because I'm a perfectionist. So sometimes and I'm a producer first. So if I'm sitting there making a beat, my instinct always goes to, let me finish this beat as max as possible. But nowadays I won't even get the chance to put the drums into the track. I'll just have the synths and I've got the melody going already. So I'll bounce the melody into, you know, what I record into and just start giving off these other melodies. And maybe I'll get like the first line could be, I don't know, like water in my bottle with a melody, and then I'll have the next cadence with the melody, but then I'll go away and just find out what words flow and rhyme next, and keep part of the puzzle. But then sometimes, man, I just put the mic on and it just comes out of me. Like it's all a freestyle. It's always freestyle.
Nice. Sure.
Yeah, I don't really sit there and pay attention to. I'm not trying to be the best lyricist in the world. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to get my emotions out, and that's my music. You know, it's an outlet of emotions. That was what I always used it for.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man. Like my early stuff in 2017. If you listen to it, sometimes it was recorded in the wrong key with the auto tune or even like the mixing. It was just terrible, but I didn't care because to me the raw emotion is there. You know, I'd never sit there and try to perfect the vocal. I just do one take, and if it's good, it's good. If it's going out regardless, that's what it is. Because imagine if I performed it live, I can't stop and be like, wait, I didn't like the way I did that. Let me, you know. So that was how I kind of started putting music out. Whereas now I definitely be perfecting my vocals.
All right, that's such a rare thing, by the way. I remember in like early 2000s. Do you know Brandy Carlisle?
No.
She's a great like folk pop singer songwriter, and one of her albums that she had put out, she just recorded it the same way you're basically saying it, like especially one of the songs that had gone, I think it's called The Story, where it was just completely raw. Like her voice cracks because she had no intention of going back and editing it or like trying to make it sound exactly right, but it makes the song because you can just feel the emotion and it's raw.
That's
it's
man.
Unfiltered.
And it's vulnerable. It's honest. It's. I'm not trying to impress you with my vocals. I'm trying to make you feel this vibe. You know what I'm feeling. Right. I always say it like I don't feel as I'm the best at explaining myself or like talking. I feel like I jumble up my words, but maybe when I watch things back like this, I always make clear sense. But when I'm saying it, I'm like, yeah, what's going on? But
I know what you mean. I get it. Yeah, there's too much going on in your own head sometimes where you're like, did I just... You know what's crazy is, have you ever been in a conversation with somebody where you're talking and you think you're being clear and concise and then they repeat back what you're saying to them and you're like, it's not what I said.
Yeah.
Did I say it like that?
Most days, man, that happens.
And you're like, I think you're angry at me.
I said that to say, like, I applied that to my music. Like, if I fuck up here or fuck up there, like, it's the same as me fucking up in a sentence.
Yeah.
It's just that society and charting and I don't know, whatever it be, has made us feel like we need to make things be spot on. But even if you go back and listen to songs from the 50s and 60s, man, like, there's some fucked up parts in the songs, like, where they might even hit the key on the wrong thing, and you know that tape was expensive back then. So
yeah.
Fuck it, man, we'll keep it.
Well, what's crazy is like that makes the song, like if I hear it any other way after that, I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Man. Yeah.
So
it's crazy. Yeah. Especially like I feel like especially in a conversation or even when like I'm doing stand-up or whatever, like it is a two-way street though. And I have to constantly remind myself of that. Like, yes, even though, maybe I was slightly inarticulate in explaining something, I feel like sometimes there's a percentage where the other person just isn't fucking listening. And I'm like, it's also on you.
It is because you got to make them listen. But at the same time, some people just don't give a fuck. Like,
right. Exactly. Yeah.
Their attention span isn't there. And maybe that's not their fault too. But it's just when I notice that's happening to me, I just stop talking.
I understand. Yeah, I know what you mean. And the other thing too is like, I think everybody has, especially after the pandemic too, we just kind of have to acknowledge that like everybody's got a little bit of something, whether it's a little bit of ADD or a little bit of OCD about a thing. And our communication skills just need to get better. Like, you know what blows me away? Texting, I feel like I understand that people think it's great, but I really do. There's no inflection. You never know how somebody's actually sounding. And also, it's supposed to be instantaneous, but it's not. Like, we've regressed back to, like, Civil War style of, like, like fucking,
I'm laughing because, like, there's a certain tone that you have to be on text for people to not think that you're being an asshole. Like, so I'm just like, I'm always putting LOL at the end of messages or like, like just to de-awkwardize it. But
me too.
My mom will text me like, okay.
Yeah.
Or like a thumb up emoji. And in her head, like she's being with the times, like I sent an emoji, but it's like, yo, do you even like me anymore? Like, what the fuck?
Dude, I know exactly what you mean. It's dismissive. Like when I can't describe the rage I feel when someone gives me a thumbs up because I feel like they're blowing me off and I have to calm down and be like, all right, look, I think
it's always someone like definitely over the age of 40. They're definitely, yeah, man.
You know what I love is when they accidentally hold it too long and it blows it up, so it's a giant thumbs up, and I'm like, well, fuck yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, well, fuck you too, dude.
That's that Facebook Messenger right there.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. You're like, what the fuck did I do to you?
That's funny.
Yeah, it's just crazy, and there's so many ways to fuck it up. We just got to get better at it. So I want to touch on something else that you had said too, just back with the where you're talking about like starting with a beat. Do you have a constant stream of music running in your head all the time? Do you feel like you're always hearing and working on beats, even in the background of other shit?
It's a problem for me. I think I'm a highly sensitive person because like sounds, and all my friends like make jokes about this. But like, if there's a sound that gets played right now, like I'll hear it and I can recreate the sound. Like literally, if there's outside, it's like.
Nice.
For some reason, I'm the one who will pick up that sound and go, you know, and like everyone just starts dying. But I do it because my brain just picks up sounds, or like sometimes like my friends will say a wording or a cadence, and then I'll turn it into a song. Like while they're talking to me, they'll be like, "Yeah, I don't know," I'll be like, "Yeah, I don't know," but it's like it's the same exact cadence that they said it in. Like they said it in key in a little song, and it just picked up in my head. And like when I'm in the studio writing, like. I'll leave the beat just running while I'm freestyling, and then maybe just like something might come up on the TV in the background, or someone might say something, or I'm listening in on my boy's conversation while I'm, you know, because I record in the studio with the music on at the same time just for the raw vibes while I'm writing. But he might say something, and then that might be the first line of the song, like literally somehow without them even knowing. But it's just sounds in general spark.
That's awesome.
Something in my head that just makes me, I'm the sound guy, man.
So are you able to like how much, because that's crazy interesting to me, because I always imagine when people are writing music, it's a solitary thing, but it seems like social interaction and picking up on noises and cadences and the way people speak actually enhances what you do.
No, literally, yeah, man.
So was it hard during the pandemic when there was no, like, how did you get that fix of social interaction and like, you know, beats and stuff like that you needed?
I was definitely on PlayStation like every night, you know, online. Nice. So we'd be in the group in the party chat with all my friends. So that's how I stayed socializing. But I don't always base it off that, you know. I'm just saying there's times where I'll hear sounds and things. But sound, man, is like I am the sound guy. Like I literally feel like sounds, and I can replicate sounds with, like I can do accents and things. I'm not gonna do them now because I can't do them on the spot. But like when the moment's
I have a list
here. I can just recreate the sound somehow. Like I don't know. It's just weird.
No, I hear you, man. That's awesome. That's a unique skill, dude.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no, it is. But I mean, like, it's one of those things that it's like you need me to tell you, just so you know, young man. No, but I mean, like, it's one of those things that I feel like a lot of the times, if you didn't know to nurture it yourself, where would you be? You know?
No, for real, man. It's definitely inputted in my success for sure. Like having that skill. So yeah.
With this new album coming out, did you know it was going to be something completely different when you started? Did you set off in your head like, I'm going to do it this way?
No, so for me, like the way it happened was I was ready to drop my album around March, June, you know, March, May kind of times 2020, straight after the pandemic had just started. Right. But at that same time, I had just signed a record deal. Oh, so cool. My first ever record deal.
Congrats, man.
Thanks, man. But the juxtaposition for me was like so different from going, well, number one, just releasing music independently, but then also signing a record deal during a lockdown with uncertainty of what we can do. To not go, I don't want to go into that situation, but it didn't end well. So I essentially got, I'm with a new label now, but I owed, I don't want to go too deep into the business, but my first record deal was just for one album, whereas the one I have now is for two. So with that delay happening from, you know, say, when was it? Like April 2020 to not being able to even release a project until August 21, you know? So it's like that whole year has allowed me to have that kind of space to graduate and upgrade my my sonics in my head and just, you know, sit on my own and
nice
enjoy new sounds, man. So I feel like it's just organically again just adapted into this new, just the graduations, man. Like it's just when you hear it, all my fans will know what I mean when I say there's a difference between mixtape SX and album SX, because they've only ever heard mixtape SX. You know, this is my debut album, so what I can say is they'll see, you know, and you can already hear the growth from 2017 till the last project. So just wait for the album.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Other than Phil Collins, are you looking to like maybe collaborate with some other people in the future, or do you still want to concentrate on like the solo stuff?
So the album also has collaborations on there. Obviously, the first main single from there, I dropped "Who We Are," which was like a little feeder single from the album. It might not even go on the album, to be honest with you. But
oh, really? Why?
I don't know, man. Like, I just feel like it might not. For me, I just can't say yes because I'll change my mind the day before and then everyone hates me. So I'll rather say no than say yes, you know.
Right.
But officially, like All Night is like the single from the album, obviously with Trippie Redd, and that's one of the first. I think that's the first feature that I put on one of my like. I've only done 3 features, I think, as SX. I've done features for obviously KSI and other friends of mine, but when it's the SX project, I don't really do features, man. And that comes to me just number one, like kind of protecting my own sound. You know, like SX is an artist in his own right, so I don't like to do too many collabs. But then I like to have fun and do it. Say, like if my friends come to me with a record or I want to hop on that, I'll always do that, you know.
Cool.
But for the album, there's definitely more collaborations. So, and we're starting with Trippie.
How did you wind up collaborating with Trippie?
That came through my manager, Mams. We had the song. I wrote All Night in 2019 with Rico Love. He wrote like Sweet Dreams for Beyonce, Motivation for Kelly Rowe. He's a legendary songwriter, man. And it's crazy even that, like, I remember I used to look up to him. I still do. He's a legend in the game and like a mentor, a big brother to me now, but which is crazy to say. But I remember like I used to look up to Rico and Jim Johnson, who he produced a lot of hits with at that time, as like a duo. And I'd be like, bro, I want to be Jim Johnson to Rico, you know, like I want to be that person that's just writing hits every day. Just that was my dream as a producer. But the fact that, you know, the first single from my debut album is co-written with him, and even that story is just mad how we met, you know. It's all because of Mams Taylor, my manager, you know. He knew Rico before Mams was a manager, way before then. He was a rapper, actually, and many other things. Mams has lived. There will be a movie about Mams Taylor one day. Just remember.
Nice. Who would you have play him?
Oh, man. I'd let him answer that one. I couldn't do it for him. He'd be mad if I told him who I wanted to play. Now you're going to
tell me after this ends.
No, I really feel like... wait, where was I saying?
You were saying the collaboration with Trippie.
Oh, yeah. So, Mams, literally, we had the song just before 2020, ready to put on the album. We were thinking... I always knew I wanted a collaboration on it. We sent it to Sway Lee originally, and he jumped on it, but we just, for whatever reason, we didn't end up putting it out with him on it. And then it also had Liam Payne on it as well from One Direction.
Oh my god!
And he's from the same city as me. We went to college together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, man. So we kind of did many different versions of this song has existed. You know, there is a version out there with Sway Lee, Trippie, and Liam Payne on it, and one with just. There's many different versions, different beats as well. You know, it's changed beat a few times. Again, that comes to just like being able to sit with the song during the lockdown and see what works, because it's always been a good song.
How do you feel about releasing stuff? Because I kind of always find it fascinating that like when I stumble upon a track from an artist that they just didn't release, or they released it once or whatever, like do you kind of hold that stuff as like your children, where it's just like, this is mine and I'll decide whether or not it gets heard? Or are you excited when other people want to hear it?
I felt like when I wrote it, where I was at musically with the songs I was putting out at that time, it just wasn't right. You know, I always knew that I wanted it for my album, because I've been experimenting with like different pop sounds and sort of just left from the typical SX direction, you know? So that's why I'm so excited for the album, man, because it's just like, it's all came together organically and just, it feels like the time, and I haven't been making much music for the first 8 to 9 months of last year, 2021. Right. I just took time out to just deal with my own personal things I had going on, which is also okay to do. I didn't realize, I felt like I had to owe it to myself to like make up for lost time but no, man, like I had to take a step back to take a step forward for sure.
Yeah.
Like maybe many of us during the pandemic too, it's been a great time to sort of refresh and restart. And
absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, I think people always think like I have to earn your like a rest or like a time to break. But if you don't take that time, then your art suffers.
That's it, man. And I felt like I saw that happening, genuinely, if I'm being honest, especially with changing going into a record label. Like the label I'm with now are amazing, man. Like they let me do what I want to do. They input appropriately, and it's like the best situation in that sense, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So I'm just excited for the album. Like that's where my head is at now, which is a blessing for me personally to say, because like I said, I haven't been making music or even wanted to. So I feel like now I'm just back in this cycle of going to studio every night or every other night, and it's just coming to me, man. So I feel blessed, man, to be able to say it, because I felt for a minute like, yo, am I going to be able to get this album together? So it's got a journey behind it as well. Like I'm just excited, man, for people to hear it, because it's good fucking music for real.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, man.
What's the when it comes out, like, because I guess if it wasn't weird times and Omicron and all the other shit going on, would you naturally be taking your stuff out on tour? Like, how would that kind of work?
Yeah, man. Like that was the whole plan. We were gonna drop the album, do a tour for like the whole fucking year, damn near.
And now it's what, in June? You said?
Yeah, 2020. That would have been.
That would have been
the tour that's coming up now. Was the tour that was that tour.
Right.
So that was meant to happen in May 2020, and it's fucked up because it was meant to happen start tomorrow, after all the rescheduling.
Right.
But obviously, with my schedule that's coming up and risking it with COVID, and so many people close to me are getting COVID right now as well.
Same. Yeah,
so
everybody
I can't
know
afford to risk it, man. I literally can't afford. It's a game of chess at this point, So even though I have to let the fans down temporarily, I have to do what works best for us all, because in the long run.
Yeah, I think they understand though too. Like I've noticed, I mean, all my dates had to be moved this month to like, and of course, like if the club winds up taking responsibility, that's even better, because then you don't have to be the bad guy to do it. I'm always like, thank Christ, and I just,
the universe, man.
Yeah, right. And then, but at the same time, like I've seen a lot of other bands that like post on their social media, like, hey, in good conscience, we can't, for the safety of the crew, and yada yada. I think that goes over so much better. I don't think there's as much blowback. I think you're going to be great.
But it goes over a lot of people's heads. Like, if one person in our touring party gets sick, then the whole tour has to stop, because, like it's not a joke, man. So it's just like, it's long, but it is what it is.
Exactly.
But in June, the album will be out. Everyone will be able to come to the shows. Well, hopefully, man.
Yeah.
Yo, I ain't rescheduling it again. If this tour ain't happening in June, like I'm refunding everyone. We'll go again when we're. No, I'm playing.
If you want, I'll cut this too. We don't have to. Yeah, you're like, delete that. I didn't say that live or on air.
But nah, man. The album will be out by then, so obviously we can just plan where I'm heading for the next tour, and I want to try and drop another album towards the end of next year, or at least the first quarter four of 23, because and now I'm back in this cycle of like feeling good about making music again. That's where my head is at, like this album ain't even done yet, but my mind's already like, what's next? So
yeah,
that's also a problem for me, man. Like I have many tabs open, like mental tabs. So one of the tabs is the album being finished, the other one is the next one.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous game, man.
How long, at what point into the process do you already start thinking about the next album?
Man, I don't know. I just feel like I know the music I'm making right now, and I know where I'm going to head after it. Nice. So that's why I'm so excited for it, because it's just like, I feel like my second album will be the one where, people are actually like, oh shit.
Yeah.
No, this guy's actually the guy,
That's great.
And I don't even like to speak about myself in that context, but I'll be lying if the music I'm making right now is not making me feel that way, because I've listened to the biggest artist album that have came out in the last 2 months, all of them, and I'm not saying my music's better. I'm not that, there's no such thing as better, but the feeling that it gives you and the difference is there, although it blends right in.
Right.
Yeah, man.
But you can tell it's genuine, by the way, when you're coming from that place of like honesty, where you're like, you said like you don't normally talk about yourself this way, but it's not like you're bragging about BS that might happen but never will.
Yeah.
You're like, you can tell you have like a clear vision and you know where you're going, so it's great.
I just know that it's the best music I've ever made in my life, so like, I have to be excited about that, otherwise there's
absolutely.
a problem.
Totally.
That's the same as me saying, don't listen to my album, it's whack. But no, genuinely, man, like I'm proud of myself because overcoming some of the things I've can't overcome this year, and just getting back on the horse, man, and I'm riding it. We're riding right now, so I'm grateful.
That's gonna be a gift, right? It's just you doing this.
Yeah.
I love it, dude. So what I'm going to ask you a few questions that we ask every guest that's been on the show. One of them is, if you can go back in time and talk to your younger self and give yourself a piece of advice that would help you today, what would it be?
Yo, buy Bitcoin.
Right?
Buy Bitcoin and just hold on to it, man. And make sure that you never lose where it is. Don't ever lose where it is.
Right? I fucking feel that, dude.
Buy Bitcoin and also just trust the process, man. Like, that would be what I'd tell myself. Because one thing I've realized is like you can be given advice as much as you fucking want, but like until you've lived through it yourself, you can only ever take your own advice, like in my opinion. Like if an older person or more wiser comes and says to me like, oh, don't do this, you're gonna regret it the only reason they know that is because they've been through it,
Absolutely.
And I'd be not living my life as best possible if I don't go through it, because I need to experience the lessons, to know what they are. Like I can't just be like, oh yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah, that's great advice though, because I feel like for some reason our generation has drifted away from actually listening to people older than us and acknowledging that they may have had life experiences that we haven't had yet.
No, it's true.
It's a weird thing, dude, because I find that very dismissive. Like when I was younger, I hung out with older people all the time. Not like saying an old folks home. I made it sound like I was at an ICU. Like, guys,
hey man, if that's your thing, bro, I ain't mad at you, man.
Like what? But
I feel like it's just okay to be your own person as well. Like that's another thing I tell myself is like, there's no right or wrong in this world. There is wrong, obviously,
right?
But like if we take away the weirdo thoughts there, what could be wrong? But if there's anything you want to do in your life, just do it, man. Like because it's about making experiences and learning lessons and being able to be like, okay, I tried it, but it might not have worked, And that was my theory with singing. Like I was always like an overweight kid and younger, and as a producer I didn't have confidence in being me and being Sam until the age of like 26, and I kind of low-key hate that because I felt like I never became like me until I was over 25, which is already like kind of older, Yeah,
I know what you mean. It was around when I was 24 for me. Same, oddly enough, like that was like the year that I was like, holy shit, like I can just kind of fuck around and do what I want and not have to be like beholden to weird shit.
That's it, man. But man, that'll be the biggest advice. Just buy crypto and just do what you want to do, man.
Yeah, this is my producer, by the way. This is Tom.
Hey,
what's up, Tom?
Pleasure to meet you, Sam. I apologize that I was caught in my own little dystopia today. And,
it happens, man.
Right? I was sure we were going on later. I saw somebody made a comment earlier that it's not tonight. I was like, Matt, it's tonight where SX is from. And
that's true.
I got so many questions for you. You're killing it out there, by the way. I want to say
you, man.
Really, really do appreciate the music. I was pretty brand new to it, but you are really doing it out there. And I wanted to know like a little bit more of like your influences. So many incredible artists that you've worked with already. So I don't know if John did this already. I'm sorry, John.
We went through no, it's okay. We went through the influences.
Did we? I wasn't even going to say influences. I wanted to know.
Well, I actually only said that my influence was for Phil Collins, but also I'm heavily inspired by Pharrell Williams, Kanye West, because they were producers first,
Right.
And already had major successes as producers, and then delved into artistry. So I'm quite old, like later in their life as well. Not to say I'm old, but you know, we were just saying like starting singing at 26 is kind of like what are you doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So I also am heavily inspired by fashion. Like I only wear shorts.
I was gonna ask you if you're wearing pants. That was like one of my first questions that I wanted to ask.
Legs are out, man. But nah, like you know, so delving into fashion and sort of seeing where I can head with that in the future, shorts and that's where I want to be, man. But I just believe in timing and doing it when it's right. If I start doing it all now, I'm gonna not be even making music. So
yeah, absolutely. You have so much, and I feel like you're still young. I feel like it's, you know, even though you feel like you're old for getting into it, it looks like you've been in the game for a minute. Like you've had a lot of influence already too.
It's because I started deep in the game at the age of 17. So 10 years in, I was 27. Like that was when the fucking lockdown started. So now I'm just turned 29. I feel like a granddad, you know, for real. But anytime I say that to old people,
still young,
me, they're like, "Yo, shut up, man! You know what I'd do to be 29 again?" Like,
yeah.
But they always say I remember feeling that way when I was 29 because you're about to be in your 30s, and you know, it's not like I'm getting younger. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so it's gonna be your best decade, man. It's gonna be your best decade.
Yeah, man.
Right?
That is
you got
such
the
a weird
youth
society thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's such a weird society thing because I had the same thing when I turned 30. I was like, well, it's over. I best dig my grave.
It's really not, man. Like, it's really not. If anything, it's really just beginning. Like, because you know you're a real adult and so in control of your own life more than you ever have been, I guess. So
absolutely,
that's what I always said too. I was always like, 30 to me wasn't an ending. It was just the beginning because now you have all the energy you have at 20, but you have money. So now you can do all the things that you couldn't do at 20.
Maybe you had money. What the fuck you're talking about? Did you get a check when you turned 30, dude? I got.
What, did you not get yours?
Is that a government thing? I don't understand. I got that look like we're not putting candles on your cake anymore. That's what I got at 30. And they're like, you're done.
No, I have to do something big for my 30th though. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I'm gonna do something. I might even drop some music.
Come to New York.
I was gonna say, have you been to this side of the pond yet?
Yeah. I've toured. I've been coming out. My family are actually American, man.
Nice.
But I actually toured in America in 2018 with Lily Allen. I came out there, so I've pretty much been across the whole country, man, and seen some wild things. Quite literally, like, you know, just when we was driving in those like scary country lanes, like.
Yeah,
I don't even know what I saw, but there was like hyenas and things and like random like bears, man, just in the fucking road, like like 4 a.m.
Yeah, it is weird. I drove cross country, and the shit you see when you leave what is normal to you. Like I'm from like Jersey, and you know, we have deer, we have raccoons, you know what I mean, like that kind of shit. But when you're driving across country, you do see some fucking weird animals that are normal to everyone else but you.
Yeah, bro. Like I saw, like it wasn't a deer, but it had. I don't know what it was, man, but it wasn't a deer. But it was a deer at the same time, but it wasn't a deer. Like, but it had these big ass fucking like moose type things.
Was it an elk?
Could have been an elk,
bro. I don't know what it was. It was like a bear collaborating with deers. Like, for real.
Was it a cryptoid? Did you see it? That's great, dude. I'm looking to see Bigfoot or the Mothman. I feel like people have had so many experiences where they've seen shit like that, and I'm like, I just want to see one, just one.
Yeah, man, just one.
I don't care which one it is.
Or the Loch Ness monster as well.
That would be great. That thing's got to be dead by now, though.
I used to have nightmares about that guy, man.
The Loch Ness monster?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, because like my cousin's mom, she was Scottish, and yeah, it just felt very real as a child.
Yeah,
the Loch Ness monster.
I feel you. I had some shit. I used to live in Arizona, and we had some weird shit going on over there.
Yeah, Arizona's a weird place, man.
100%. It can be frightening, especially at night when you're just driving and there's like, you know, 5 hours worth of desert, and you're like, I'm gonna die here.
Yeah.
I had a great night out in Tempe, Arizona.
I used to live there. That's where I used to live.
Yeah, crazy night, man.
Wait a minute. Tempe wasn't that crazy when I was there. What did you
I don't really remember much of it. That's why it was crazy. Like, I just remember waking up the next day and my manager was with me, and I'll leave it there.
Come on, we want the good stories on Dystopia. Tempe is a big college town.
Yeah,
so I'm sure there were some fans involved.
There were some fans around at the show.
Where would you perform in Tempe?
Oh man, I don't even know. Maybe I'm good with that stuff, man. The Marquee.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how I remember that, but I just do. Like,
yeah. Tempe's great, man.
See the schedule, the tour schedule. That's what I'm looking at in my head. So maybe I have photographic memory.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I'm looking at the sheet in my head right now.
Nice.
So yeah, man.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. I lived there for 4 years.
Say again?
I said I lived there for 4 years. It's crazy that you had I've never heard anybody say I had a wild night in Tempe. So this made my whole night.
Nah, it wasn't actually in Tempe. It was in Scottsdale.
Oh, okay.
But the show was in Tempe.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. Then me and Mams went on a night out in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Nice. Scottsdale's great.
Scottsdale was great, man.
Yeah. So I gotta ask you, if you had what had to end in your life, good or bad, for you to wind up where you are today?
Say it again.
What had to end in your life, good or bad, for you to wind up where you are today?
Well, I'm not sure. I'll say this, like, I broke up with my kid's mom when I was 25. And then that's what made me start singing. Nice. Pretty much, I'd say. So I'll go with that.
Sweet.
Yeah, man. Just for me, that was like one of the first things in my life where I was like, wow. I don't know, like, how can you break up with someone who you've been from when you were like 18 and then you got 2 kids with them? That made me feel like life wasn't real, because like that's not a part of my code, but we just couldn't like live together or whatever. That's just normal. But I feel like that's what made me be like, yo, I'm about to just do some different shit right now. Like, I'm not about to be a fucking stay-at-home dad. I'm about to be the sickest dad in the world, and for my kids, and just like change my life. So I literally did it, man.
That's great, dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But that's what made that happen, I'd say.
And if we were in a dystopia, a real dystopia, how would
what actually is a dystopia? Like,
it's basically like the world's upside down. So like, it would be like, if climate change actually did wind up like finally hitting us, and there were like basically what we're living in, fires in California, crazy world,
aliens invading,
zombies,
some Stranger Things type shit.
Yeah, Stranger Things type shit. Yeah. If you were in, how would you want to go out? Would you want to be like zombies, aliens, volcano? Like, what would be your epic one-way ticket out?
I'd probably be like chasing someone, like some zombies. I'll be going out like a G. I probably wouldn't go out, man. I'd probably stay in the underground bunker.
That's great,
just be chilling. I would be the only human left, actually. Fuck that. I'll have my whole little man cave with the PS5 in there, the studio. Somehow SX still keeps dropping music during it, That would be me, man. Just dropping bangers.
Great, dude. What's your PS5 game of choice?
Right now, Call of Duty, man. There's not many PS5 games out, but I'm a Call of Duty guy, so yeah. Man.
Call of Duty's great. Call of Duty and Gears of War are my 2 favorites for that.
Gears of War was a banger back in the day.
Right? That was like I still love that game, man. Gears of War 3, my friends and I played relentlessly.
That was a classic. I just don't have Xbox anymore. Otherwise.
I know. Yeah, that was like the Xbox. I still have my Xbox because of Gears of War. I don't give a shit about anything else. I'm not giving it up.
I really want to get an Xbox 360 and play Call of Duty 4, the old Call of Duty 4, like Modern Warfare, not like a remastered one. I want to play the OG one with the bad graphics and the glitches and the hacks.
Oh man, you could totally find that on like eBay or some shit. I bet you get a good deal. Yeah.
Speaking of gamers, over on Twitch, Ryan Davis says SX is the best artist ever. We got a fan checking in from the Twitch side.
Facts. Shout out to Ryan Davis, man.
Nice. Well, dude, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It was a blast talking to you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Good luck with the new album. Can't wait. And you got to come back, dude. You got to come back.
Bro, please, man. When the album's out, let's do it.
Let's 100%. Do it, dude. Absolutely.
Looking forward to it, man. Yep. Thank you so much, man. I'm sorry I only got here for a portion of it. Next time I will be here for the whole thing. John will check in the last 15 minutes.
No, it's no problem, man.
It's good meeting you, dude.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you, man.
Thanks, man. Have a great one.
Dystopia Tonight.